Hey there, and welcome back to another episode of Email Marketing Mastery. This episode is going to be slightly different. This episode, I'm going to be talking a lot more. You're going to be seeing my face a lot more. There's very few slides. This episode, we want to talk about cold email outreach. Right? Is it spam or not? Let me give you the facts around cold email outreach. Let's have a quick look at the slides. Let me show you a couple of examples of cold email outreach and what they look like. Right, so here's the first one. This one, amazingly, landed in my inbox. That doesn't happen very often. And I can assure you this one will not land in my inbox again. So it starts off, look at the subject line right at the top, plans for, and I blurred out the company name there, Office. And if you look at the from address, it is from a company in the UK, right? So it's .co.uk. And it's sent to my Whois address. So I've got a Whois address specifically for my domain names, right? So I use that in the public Whois information. Starts off nice and friendly. Hi Rishlu. Okay, it uses my name correctly, that's a bonus for this email. The reason for my email today is our continued interest in any plans you may have for selling or bringing on a growth partner for your company over the next couple of years. It's kind of interesting. If you're on course to make a life-changing decision and have an hour to discuss the process, potential value, and likely timescales of selling my company, Office, we would welcome your call to schedule a meeting. Kind regards, Billy Johnson. And then his details, company name, telephone number, and address. And here's the funny part. So the telephone number and the address is in South Africa. But if we look at the from address, it's a company in the UK, right? So they don't have any real reason to reach out to me whatsoever, right? I can guarantee you they send out thousands of these messages every day. This one, thankfully, has a click here to unsubscribe right at the bottom, right? So if I no longer wish to receive messages. We're going to get into the details on legality and that kind of stuff. Let's run through the other two examples I have here for you. Right, so this one starts off really badly with the subject line RE. Making the assumption or making me want to think that I've had a discussion with this person on email before, which I most certainly have not. Right, now we look at the email address, and I'm sorry, I know it's a little bit blurred for you, but it says there web.ceo1289@gmail.com. And I mean, that just screams professionalism, doesn't it? A free Gmail account. And then it starts off with, hey Rishlu Kalyan, I am Jamie or Jameen, I can't even see the name properly, and I work with experienced IT professionals who are into, and then a whole bunch of stuff that they are into. May I know if you are interested in any of these services? If yes, please reply with your contact number or Skype ID, and I would be happy to share our past work examples, pricing and client testimonials, etc. Share your project requirements. I will look forward to hearing from you. Right, so firstly, the grammar is pretty bad. I wouldn't say it's atrocious, but it's pretty bad. It's a crappy email, right? There's no option to unsubscribe, nothing. Now let's look at the last example, and then you're going to get my ugly mug back on the screen, and we're going to talk about, is this spam or not? Right, so this one, I know it's really, really blurry, even on my side. I do apologize for that. This one, thankfully, landed exactly where it should, in the spam folder, and it is from another Gmail address, and it is to me directly. Actually, sorry, I wanted to point out something else on this email. If you look at the to address, right, it's grayed out, but I left the last bit there. This was sent to my LinkedIn email address, right? So this is somebody that connected with me on LinkedIn and then made the assumption that because they are connected with me on LinkedIn, they can now continue to send me messages on my email address that is connected to my LinkedIn account. Right, so this one, again, I can't make out the exact text there. It is also trying to sell me some kind of services, a whole bunch of different country telephone numbers at the bottom. And then the fun part is, if right at the bottom, and I know you can't make this out, if I want to stop receiving these messages, I have to reply to the email with the wording pass in it. Okay, so let's talk about cold outreach. So what does it really entail, right? How do these people get these addresses? There's several different ways. They buy a list. It's not illegal in countries like the United States. It's frowned upon. It is definitely a big issue with your mailbox providers, but it's not illegal. They scrape websites like LinkedIn, Twitter, Facebook, whatever, and any other website, right? If I have a corporate website out there and I have some kind of email address on there, they'll scrape these websites, they'll get the email address from there, and it all goes into a database, and then they use there's several tools that they use to send out these messages. There's some CRM platforms that allows them to do it, no problem at all. There are tools, which I'm not going to name, right? I'm not going to give them airtime, right? Tools that you can tie into your Gmail account, or your Google G Suite account, or your Office 365 account, and you can use this tool to drip feed out these messages, right? So they want to get around the ESP strictness, number one, deliverability problems, right? If you're sending from a Gmail account, I mean, just about every mailbox provider in the world will accept a message from Gmail or from G Suite or from Office 365. That's why they use these tools, and they tie into these systems, and they use it. So from a legal perspective, depending on where this is being done, right? If this is not being done in the United States, it is perfectly legal, right? The United States requires an opt-out, right? I can be added to a list legally in the United States without my permission, as long as it meets a few very simple and easy to meet criteria. Address in the bottom, no deceptive subject lines. That RE1 is borderline, because there's been no email back and forth between me and whoever was sending the email. A way to opt out. One of those messages wasn't legal. There wasn't a way to opt out. So there's a few of these things that's important to make it legal in the United States. And generally speaking, very easy to do. So let's forget the other countries where a opt-in is required, where permission is required. Let's focus on the United States, where only an opt-out is required and only a few other things to make the message legal. So is this spam? My perception, as well as the perception of everybody who I've ever spoken to that has been involved with deliverability at a mailbox provider, every single one I've ever spoken to has said, yes, 100%, this is spam. There's no permission. Let me ask you this. How many of you watching this right now has received a call from a telemarketer? Selling you insurance, selling you life insurance, health insurance, credit cards, mobile phone plans, whatever. I mean, think of any telemarketing call that you've received in your life, and generally speaking, how was that call perceived? It was not very pleasant, right? It was you were irritated, you were frustrated, you just wanted to get off the line, you didn't want to speak to this person. 9 times out of 10, I mean, there's the rare occasion that you'll get a telemarketing call and it's like, oh, okay, I'm actually interested in this, but that generally doesn't happen. These cold outreach messages is exactly that. It is a telemarketer, an email marketer, that is contacting you without you having requested any information about the company or the product that's reaching out to you. Now, these ones that I showed you, these were the bottom of the barrel ones. You get much better ones than these, right? You get a lot of SaaS companies nowadays that do cold outreach, where they, in some manner, get hold of a bunch of email addresses. They're usually reasonably good at targeting, right? They'll make sure that it's CEOs at the type of companies that they're trying to attract into their SaaS. And depending on who's writing the emails, the email copy, how good it is, some of these messages have a reasonable response rate and actually does well for those companies. But at the end of the day, as far as the mailbox providers are concerned, we're talking the Gmails, the Microsoft, the AOLs, the Yahoos, all of these guys. They all consider these messages pure 100% spam. So why would you do it? Why do these people do it? They do it because it's relatively easy, it's relatively cheap, it's, if done right, it's reasonably targeted. The risk they run to the bad reputation their brand can get at a mailbox provider, as far as I'm concerned, is absolutely not worth it. So, when I have this discussion with customers and friends, the question always comes up, okay, that's great, Rishi. Okay, so this is spam, but how am I supposed to attract my perfect customer? You have to spend money on advertising, on the right kind of advertising, the right targeting. If you look at Facebook ad targeting is just absolutely phenomenal, right? You can so laser target your marketing, and it is not that expensive, right? Let's take a SaaS company, for instance. I'm going to use 2ESPs as an example here. Aweber, GetResponse. Sorry guys, I'm just using you as an example just to illustrate a point. So let's say, for instance, that GetResponse wants to run a new campaign, Facebook marketing campaign, to attract customers, pull customers away from Aweber to them. That's very easy. Aweber has got a Facebook page, and their customers and their fans like that page. Facebook gives you the ability to go on to, or to target an ad to people who like Aweber. So GetResponse can display ads to people that like the Aweber page. They're not necessarily Aweber customers, but they like the page. So there is a positive relationship between that person and Aweber. Now, of course, you've got to be careful in your messaging, in your advertising. But that is how you go after your perfect customer. You spend the right money on the right type of advertising to attract that customer to you, or to attract that potential customer to you. And if you do it correctly and you have a landing page specifically set up, in this case, GetResponse has a landing page specifically set up for an Aweber customer, with some kind of incentive for that Aweber customer to now opt in to their mailing list for whatever the incentive is. It could be whatever. I can't think of a specific example right now. But now you have that existing Aweber customer or Aweber fan that likes their page. You now have them on your landing page. You sell them with an incentive to get onto your mailing list. You don't want to sell them your product here. That's also the wrong thing to do, right? It's like going into a used car lot. Those salespeople attack you, and the only thing they want to do is sell to you. There's no relationship building whatsoever. GetResponse here now has this customer or fan of Aweber on a landing page. Build the relationship. Give them an incentive to get on your list. Now they're on your list. Now you build that relationship. You will eventually ask for the sale, and this can happen in a few days. But build that relationship. Provide value first before you ask for the sale. I don't know how many of you know Ryan Deiss. Ryan Deiss is the founder and CEO of Digital Marketer. They run the Traffic and Conversion Summit and a whole bunch of other things. And he loves to tell this story, and I'm just going to give you the very short version of it. You never ask for the marriage on the first date. And that's my very short version of his very nice, long story. And the way that he tries to explain that you provide the value, you build the relationship before you ask for the marriage or the sale. That's all I have to say on this, right? SaaS companies, stop doing cold outreach emails, right? If you want to get on the phone and have somebody scream at you, go for it. But you are hurting your reputation by doing the email cold outreach, and you are I cannot begin to explain to you the immeasurable damage that you're doing to your brand and to your reputation, not only at the mailbox providers, but in the minds of your potential customers, right? These emails that I got from those companies, I'll never look at them. Never. I will go out of my way to make sure that they never ever deliver a message to me again, right? The three of those that I showed you, two of them landed in my inbox. They'll never ever land in my inbox again, right? Firstly, I will mark them as spam. Secondly, I will go out of my way to have those accounts shut down because they are flat out spamming, right? So bad news for those guys. They sent a mail to somebody that's passionate about email and passionate about do not send spam. So SaaS companies, if you're doing this, don't do it, right? If you're a service business, whatever kind of business you're in, just don't do it. Don't buy lists. Don't scrape lists. Just don't do these silly things. It's ridiculous, and you're hurting yourself. You're hurting your company. You're hurting your brand. Just don't do it. That's it. That's my rant over and done with. Now, just for the last two simple slides, and I promise you it's not content slides. Let's move right along here. So, any questions, any comments, pop it in the comment section or send an email to emm@inboxjam.com and I'll get back to you as quickly as humanly possible. And then last but not least, next week, same time, episode 9. This is another rant from me. No reply at email addresses from big brands. I don't know if I should show you examples, but I may be convinced to. And that is it for this episode. Thank you very much. I really appreciate your time. Hit that like, hit that subscribe, and I will see you next week Thursday. Richelieu out.